All right. Well, good morning. This is the S.A.T.E.R.N or the Salvation Army Team Emergency Radio Network presentation. This is a little bit more of a discussion, but I wanted to give some insight as to where we've been and where we're going. Since last year when I did a presentation, we've made some changes both internally, structurally, and some new equipment are coming our way, and new facilities, specifically in the Springfield and Champaign area. So I'll just breathe through these real quickly. So my name is Scott DeSantis, KB9 VRW. My captain many years ago said my phonetics was very rarely works because I was only a tech at that time, and we were using VHF. As you can tell, I'm a 911 dispatcher, but we were on VHF for our fire. And if I could hear Berrien County and actually talk to them on 100 watts, then I wanted to go home and work 6 meters and etc. So he would sit there and go, "Hey, how many days did you actually work this week?" I said, "Well, the bands were open, so I only worked 3 days this week in a 2-week period." So anyways, I have a note up there. Does anyone know what the importance of the day I got licensed, 2/2 of 2000? I know that's an obvious, but if you haven't heard a presentation before by me, you'll remember. 3 of you should have remembered. So 2/2 of 2000 on top of Groundhog's Day is also my dad's birthday. So I'll never forget the day I got my license. He wasn't born on that day, it's just the day his birthday. And I recently upgraded, well, about 1.5 years ago, in April of 2023. Like I said, I've been a communications 911 dispatcher for 30 plus years. Been involved in other modes of communications outside of that with emergency management, Red Cross, and then I joined a private communications support team that when COVID hit, we just decided to disband because people were wanting to go different ways. So I joined S.A.T.E.R.N, I joined the Salvation Army right around COVID, and a certain day in June of 2019, I joined S.A.T.E.R.N because I had more free time on my hands. And since then, I've gone from being a grunt to now the coordinator for our NCI division, or North and Central Illinois division, which technically I started in January of 2023, but I was already doing things in November of 2022. And I held various positions within the Illinois section in the A.R.L, and I was Carl's and his predecessor, thank you, was an assistant director for them. But I didn't have enough time on my hands to give to both groups, so. A little bit about S.A.T.E.R.N. S.A.T.E.R.N is a globalized, recognized organization. It is international. We do have hams throughout the United States, but even internationally in United Kingdom and Spain specifically. Just the other day, we talked to the Spain station, I forget where they were at, from my office in Elk Grove, and we're like, that's the first time we've talked to someone internationally that's a S.A.T.E.R.N station. So, and most of the time we're doing stuff just for the Salvation Army. I think I said this earlier to a couple of you guys, but we do communication support just for the Salvation Army, but we're not limited to that. If an Aries group or Southern Baptist says, "Hey, we need a radio operator to help us out," if we have the means and the resources, we give it. We're always paying it forward because they take care of organizations, help us out, and so we help them out. Hence, a lot of the time, especially here in Central Illinois and Southern Illinois, we're trying to work side by side with Aries groups and other MCOM groups, not only for their resources and their knowledge, but we may have a gadget that they don't have, but they may have a widget that we don't have and we'd like to share. So In brief, this is part of the presentation. If you see us at Hamvention, I kind of modified it a little bit, but the history of S.A.T.E.R.N started with SAROF. So I always screw this up. So Salvationist Army or Amateur Radio Operators Fellowship. So a lot of the people started by Major Carl were all majors and captains within the Salvation Army that were ham radio operators. So they're a faith-based organization, and which is what the Salvation Army is. It's a faith-based organization. And you'll see the question come up, and I always get asked, no, you don't have to join the Salvation Army church to be part of the Salvation Army or part of S.A.T.E.R.N. And SAROF really came about late in 1958, and that was basically after a tornado ripped through a good portion of central Wisconsin, and they had no communications out of that area except for ham radio operators, and they happened to be SAROF members. SAROF discontinued around 2016 because in 2015 S.A.T.E.R.N was born, and we had our 30-year anniversary back in well, actually, rephrase this. S.A.T.E.R.N started in 1985 and got more involved with day-to-day operations in 2025, and that's when SAROF disbanded soon afterwards. So, and a little plug, in July of 2025, we're going to have a special event station and contest within the Salvation Army. S.A.T.E.R.N stations talking to S.A.T.E.R.N stations, S.A.T.E.R.N volunteers talking to S.A.T.E.R.N stations, and other people. So it's kind of, and we picked July because we didn't want to affect, because our anniversary date happens to be the same weekend as Field Day weekend, and we did not want to be interfering with 13 colonies. So the decision was made based on one of my bosses. I don't know if I said this before, I have 5 bosses. So my territory boss, Don DeWare, KD9NJR, said, let's do this in July, like mid to late July. I said, perfect, we'll be in this comms trailer with bad air conditioning in the middle of the summer. He goes, but that's the way it always is with the Army. And I said, okay, fine. So we're gonna give out QSL cards and some stations, depending on what they get, there may be a prize. It's still waiting to be determined. So, and again, this is talking about, real quickly, about the hurricanes, Katrina and Rita, where we worked side by side with not only the Texas National Guard, but also the Red Cross on communicating and coordinating resources in and out, especially rescuing people and helping them out. I talked to, during the DNC, and we use these terms integratedly, the DNC meaning the Democratic National Convention, and the RNC, the Republican National Convention, this last year, with people that were actually boots on the ground, ham radio operators that were working during these events. It was actually kind of interesting to hear their stories and listen to, one guy was on the radio, literally, as soon as he unkeyed, he was taking us, another piece of traffic, and he said, I went 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours of talking on the radio. I said, dude, I get paid to do it for 8 hours, and if I'm lucky, I might do it for 4 hours total, time-wise, in 8-hour shift. Except for when our traffic and our truck guys are out, then it's totally different. So, and again, like I said, we support the Salvation Army operations and missions and disasters. Well, it was weird. So, this is the structure of our the Salvation Army. There's the U.S. There's the international headquarters, which is in England, and then the U.S. headquarters, which is in Alexandria, Virginia. Then we have the Eastern, Southern, Central, and Western territories. So we have 4 territories. We're in the Central Territory. This is a map of it. So, and our headquarters is actually in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. If anyone's familiar with the Sears Center, or where their Sears complex used to be, now the Now Center, and I forget what the complex is going to be called because it's been purchased by somebody else. We're just around the corner. Or actually, we're still on the grounds of the Sears complex, so to speak. So, and we have another territory resource up in Rockford, Illinois, which houses a lot of the stuff we've just purchased, and I haven't gotten a full list, so I wanted to try to put it on here. But we had a $15 million grant that we got resources from. A lot of those resources were brand new canteens because our canteens go out during disasters, and we do like I always screw this up, hub and spoke. So food comes into one place, and then people go out with the food and then distribute it out to the first responders or victims and such. And more of our canteens are getting converted to that mode, so you'll see more like transit van style setups where we're not actually cooking out of. Except for in Chicago, we're still dead set on cooking food in our canteens. So I'm certified to cook food in a canteen for the Army, but it's only because I'm based in Chicago. No, sorry, should have changed that because we just changed divisions around about 2 years ago. So within the Central Territory, we have actually 7 divisions. Like I said, we're in the North and Central Illinois Division. This used to actually be called the Heartland Division. I won't get into everything that was going on, but they decided, Salvation Army, actually our EDS Territory Coordinator, Kevin Eller, said, we need to start lining up with the state government, state resources. And we said, well, we need to start also matching up with the ARRL and the Aries resources also for S.A.T.E.R.N. So I won't be surprised if in a year or two we will be an all-state division. So if anyone wants to be an assistant and pay great dollars, I'll be glad to hire you on for the southern part of the state. No, I'm just kidding. Any questions so far? I know I kind of blast through this because it's like in the back of my head. And if not, I like to talk, as some of you guys know. So this is where all of our resources are laid out. The ones in the diamonds, those are called DHQs, or disaster headquarters. And then the ones in the circles are area commands. So they're not like a area, and I'll show you a map of what we have here in North and Central Illinois if you haven't seen it. So we actually have two area commands and an area coordination here in Illinois right now. And then the ones in the yellow circles, those are the area coordinations. So if you're looking at this like Des Moines, Davenport, Rockford, Janesville, Madison. So, and here in Peoria, we've got the area command. Up in Chicago, it's actually the wrong placing because where the triangle should be is where the circle is, and where the circle is should be where the triangle is, because our actual headquarters in Chicago is in downtown Chicago on Pulaski, and yet the EDS warehouse is or the area command is actually in Elk Grove Village, just stone's throw away from O'Hare Airport. So like I said, we've got two different area commands and a Rockford area coordination. And I put a little note in there, so why is that important to know? Well, for me, it's who I report to and what I'm going to ask for. Oh, something happened to the map. Well, if anyone's seen come by the table, unfortunately, the map's there, so it's all based on population. So the Chicago Area Command has approximately 5 or 6 counties. Northwest area coordination, which is based out of Rockford and Winnebago County, has probably like 11 counties. And then everything else in the central part of the state is out of the Peoria office or Pekin office, or central part of the, or central division. So it's our central command area, which is interesting because, well, Sangamon County, Springfield is our most southern county. We actually go further south because we have resources that Midland Division, which is based out of Missouri, doesn't have, so we provide support like that. Christian County happens to be in Midland Division, but 2 future S.A.T.E.R.N members, 3 chaplains that I know of, all live in Christian County, and they're all doing stuff for my division. So do this real quick. So we had a little small hiatus, unfortunately, due to a couple things. One is that someone said that your cell phone, will survive everything. I can do everything I need to. I don't need a ham radio. Luckily, my current director said, well, I understand why he thought that. I want ham radio. So we revitalized S.A.T.E.R.N. We got it back and moving. We reestablished and made our station in Elk Grove robust. We put in new antennas. We have a Mosley 33L, so it does 12, 15, and 20 on a nice heavy-duty rotor and tower. And then we have radio waves 10 through 80 wire antenna running along the top of the building, and a VHF, UHF stick, and a Yagi. And just this weekend, I picked up a spider antenna from Dennis Smith, whose booth is right next to mine, and we're going to put that up on a tripod when we need to do NVIS. And later on, I'll talk about it, but we're going to also have one down here in Pekin. When we open up the Springfield station, we'll get the same type of setup because we're trying to be robust but also portable for our needs. Like I said, up here, we have active HF nets on 14.325 and 7.268. If you actually go to our SATERNUSA.org website, you'll see when those dates are, but the HF nets, those frequencies also match up the Hurricane Watch net because we back up the Hurricane Watch net. Those that get emails from me, from my S.A.T.E.R.N team or non-official S.A.T.E.R.N team members, we monitor them. In fact, last year, when my buddy Dick Seeley, who's the manager, who's also the Great Lakes Division, which is Michigan, S.A.T.E.R.N coordinator, was running it, he and I were texting back and forth, and I was trying to keep him awake during the night when, I forget which one it was that was coming landfall, because next thing you knew, it was the one that hit Myrtle Beach, and he's like, yep, everything kind of, not Myrtle Beach, I forget where in Florida, but because we've had so many discussions about things when it comes to Hurricane Watch Net, because he wants me to be a net control operator, so I'll apologize for that. In each division, we all do have VHF nets, and majority of them are on Echolink, and again, that's all listed on our website, SATERNUSA.org. We actually do have a Echolink/DMR net that is on Wednesday nights. I'm the net manager, and I'm as of right now, the lone net control operator too for it. It kind of, just like S.A.T.E.R.N itself, it kind of went by the wayside. My previous Central Territory coordinator, S.A.T.E.R.N coordinator, Bob Langsfeld, wanted this, so they started it up. When he passed away, somebody decided that they didn't want to do it anymore, and we're like, no, we need to do this. So there's 4 of us that religiously get on, and we're hoping to expand it once we get Fusion linked back into it. So, but it does have DMR modes. It has DMR, Echolink, and All-Star modes that you can check in. So, some of the public service events that we've supported, Chicago Marathon's a big one. We've had aid station 13, unlucky 13, as some of us call it, but we've never had any problems there. Eric, who's one of our coming volunteers, hopefully. It's not his fault, it's our system. We won't get into that because we went from computer to paper, back to computer. But the second computer version is much easier, as Derek and Ryan probably got to actually see how it should flow. Because someone in our division, our territory, wrote the program to make it easier for volunteers. In a nutshell, and I'll use Ryan as an example, Ryan submitted a written application, so did Eric, submitted them both. Ryan's application also got put in the national database, as so does Eric's, but locally, I had to enter his stuff into another database. Now, for the Central Territory, we just go into one place, no paper. I can give you my phone and you can do it. I mean, it was just that easy for Derek to set up this morning before we came here. So, anyways, we support Salvation Army activities. Just the other day, we helped feed during a presentation and remembrance of 9/11. So, S.A.T.E.R.N operators worked out of a canteen because we're cross-trained and fed hot dogs, turkey burgers, and hamburgers to 100 people. So, and we do some non-affiliated activities. I was coming down here in April to help out with the Lincoln Trail, and unfortunately I had a death in the family, and my family said, nope, go do this. It's gonna get your mind off of things, and I'm glad I didn't go because my family actually was falling apart. But, and actually, believe it or not, because I had family in the Salvation Army, meaning other people I work with as volunteers, they came out and provided that emotional, spiritual care that we provide within the Salvation Army for my own family. Didn't ask for it. All of a sudden, my sister-in-law goes, or at my sister-in-law's house, there's a knock on the door, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. My wife's like, what? And she goes, I think it's someone from the Salvation Army here. So, but like I said, we do non-affiliated activities, and then Republican and National Convention. Like I said, we supported, and I'm going to talk a little bit more here, but I want to get it out there. We supported the first responders that were keeping everything under control. We had nothing to do with the delegates or any of the people involved with those political parties. We were supporting the first responders. Believe it or not, 10 minutes into today, I had someone tell me that we should not have been there feeding the people that were part of the convention, and I said we were feeding the first responders. Training, we kind of talked about this last Tuesday during our monthly meeting, and we're going to go over this a little bit more, but we're going to try to do more local and on-the-air training. For us in Chicago, it's great because we got multiple repeaters. Let's do this, we'll go to this repeater, or let's go to this repeater, or let's try simplex out of the Elk Grove station. Let's try simplex out of another one. As we expand and we get into other areas and we build up those stations, we're going to do the same type of activities there also. And then we want to have a regional on-the-air training exercise on 80 meters. The goal is to start that up right before Christmas, and it will be on Saturday mornings, probably around 8 or 9 o'clock local. And get on for 15, 30 minutes and shut down. Just to pass traffic, say hi, make sure equipment's working, et cetera, et cetera. Because on Saturdays, we have the Hurricane Watch Net, which is on a different frequency than normal, and that's at 10:30 local for us. And they start taking early check-ins at 10 o'clock. So. Oh, and we were planning on this year, but this thing called a DNC and RNC got in the way of doing a territory-wide exercise, so we have that plans in 2025. So What did we do in 2024? So we had the Republican and Democratic conventions. A team of us went up from the territory team. Yes, I wear multiple hats within S.A.T.E.R.N. The territory team went up to Republican convention and deployed a business band UHF repeater. And it had great coverage within the warehouse that we were in. We put it outside. It had great coverage outside of the building, but not inside the building. So they reported or went back to ham radio operators. We added more S.A.T.E.R.N members from my division up to help out and such. They ended up being able to put a ham radio operator on every canteen, every transport vehicle, and be able to communicate traffic through the local repeaters because there was a rapport already established for that area. During the DNC, Democratic National Convention, and the reason why I don't have a lot of stats about the Republican convention is because I wasn't part of it, other than I was a support unit sitting, waiting for the phone call that never happened. I will tell you though that we fed over 1,000, and that is the term that I can use legally. And since this is recorded and going out to the world, we transported or we distributed out of multiple locations. We had 2 key locations and various other locations. One of them, everyone figured out once things were going on where to get stuff. But we had multiple points of distribution, multiple shifts going on. So we had people coming in, coming out. I think I made a comment to somebody else that I literally lived in our EDS warehouse. And I should have slept there like everyone else did. But I just had to go home because I wanted to see my wife, which I only got to see her for maybe an hour or 2. And usually I was grumpy because I was tired because I drove an hour through Chicago traffic to get home. But anyways, we utilized, because we didn't want interference with some of the communications that was already going on with the FBI, the CIA, or the Secret Service, and other agencies out there. We went to an app called Zello Works. It was free to us, and it was able to track resources. And anyone that's in public safety or been involved in public safety and watching, well, anyone that's followed APRS basically, that app was just like APRS. And the best thing about it was you could hit a button on that app, and it was an emergency button. And one of our previous, he used to be a S.A.T.E.R.N coordinator, he likes gadgets, so he pushed the emergency button thinking it was only going to go to the people that were online. Nope, it went to everybody in our network, in our own little network. So he got multiple phone calls and three different vehicles, two different vehicles showing up where he was at. Because we had a little encampment at our territory headquarters testing out some equipment that we had just gotten donated from that $15 million grant that I talked about earlier. So it was a great test of all these resources. The best thing about this app is someone's like, hey, I need this person to have the app. All right, I need their name, email, and phone number. What else do you need? Do you need their phone? What type of phone they have? Nope, that's all I need. I literally, and I wasn't supposed to do this, I literally, before the DNC started, and I was still at my full-time job, whipped out my little laptop, logged in, set them up, sent them the information, and then closed it, put it in my bag, and they're like, and my boss is texting me, how did you do that so fast? I'm like, it's on an icon on my laptop. I just go in there and do it. It's done. And that's how flexible that is. And we're using that as something that we're going to expand down the road as a backup, so to speak. So, yeah. So we figured that the Zello Works, which was found by our territory coordinator, Don DeWare, was a safe, inexpensive mode to communicate. Best thing about this is we could send pictures. So one of the people on our command staff, she sent a picture thinking it was coming to me. Luckily, it was just a silly face, and it went to everybody in our network. So I get a text, who is this? This is Maria from Western Division. oh, okay, well, I'm going to put that icon on our phone, on our contact on my phone. I'm like, and she's like this. So I was like, perfect, because she's a little silly. So, all right. Some of the rebuilding, or let's see here, yeah. So, what are we doing in the future here? I kind of said this last year, but it's really taking some strides because my boss is really pushing me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm getting excited because I'm retiring in 16 months from my full-time job, and I need something to do. So I need more bodies so I can do more stuff, honestly. So that's the reason I'm attending HamFest, club meetings, club events as best as I can. I do try to make it down to Springfield and Peoria at least once a year. Woodford County Club, the Repeater Club, has one meeting a year, and I've made a dedication that I'm going to go to that meeting every year. And I get to stay at a beautiful bed or Airbnb for $45 a night, and it's right above a coffee shop. So I walk downstairs when I go to leave to come home, get my cup of coffee, get a roll, and I'm on the way. So anyways, I digress, sorry. Upgrading and adding equipment and stations, like I said earlier, we're trying to make things robust. We're almost completely where we want to be for right now in Elk Grove. We're trying to figure out which way we want to go with WinLink. So some of us want to go VHF, some of us wants to go AHF, some of us want to have both capabilities. So I'm open for anyone's ideas, concerns, or anything of this stuff because I got into it, then I got away from it, now I'm getting back into it, so I'm learning myself. But eventually, every station's going to have VHF, UHF capability, HF capability, if not NVIS and a wire or a beam or some combination of antennas for HF. Because we know while a wire is great and it's inexpensive and easy to put up and repair if need be, sometimes we need a little bit of robust. So, but each station we want to have eventually WinLink. APRS is a plus, but each station actually have a weather station because the future is that we are going to be, S.A.T.E.R.N is going to be not just radio operators, we're going to be part of the incident command structure, at least for our division, and hopefully be able to provide a better resource to the incident command group. Like for example, when I was part of the DNC operations team, or incident management team, I should say, I did all the radio communications. They had somebody doing weather, but if that person got inundated of doing the weather, we should be able to take that role, right? Because half of us, if not more of us, really got into ham radio to do what? Weather spotting, right? I mean, it's one of the draws. Others is being able to talk to people around the world or whatever. But one of the big draws into ham radio is weather spotting. So use that talent to our benefit and to the benefit of the operations of the Salvation Army, in my opinion. We're very lucky that in EDS here in our division, again, somebody that's in a different county that's outside of a division but does a lot, he is very in tune with what's going on weather-wise and has the connections. When tornadoes were going to happen, he called and told me, where are you in relation to this? Oh, that's southern part of the Chicago area and definitely not even close to me. He goes, okay, well, they're probably going to get hit with a tornado. I kid you not. Hour later, tornado. And it's not because he knew it, it's because he was getting pieces of information from others. So I rely on this guy very well to give me an update and prepare me for that stuff. And we want to share that eventually with other people. So anyways, like I said, building Rockford, additional stations in Rockford, Springfield, and Champaign eventually, and working on a division-wide communications system or plan. We call it the Operation Black Shield. And I I'll go over that in a second because I go a little bit more detail here. Training and exercise, like I said, local training and exercises. We are looking at doing quarterly things, and we're going to start little in the Chicago area, and then the next one is going to incorporate or get Springfield unit people involved, Peoria people involved, Rockford people involved, and we'll do local and also HF involved with it. And again, unfortunately, we have online training to get you certified and stuff like that. And then last bit, getting a chain of command or some people that I can rely on to help me out so I don't mind traveling, but having people down that have a better understanding of what's going on in areas like Springfield, Champaign, Peoria, etc. So, like I said, we're rebuilding and expanding. These are not the only 3 Hamfests we go to. These are the ones that when a friend of mine was redoing this a little bit, they put this in there. Like I said, new stations in Rockford, Springfield, and Champaign. Nice thing about the Rockford station is I just got to find operators. That's actually going to be a territory station. So they're taking care of the equipment, all that work, all that grunt work. I'm just going to find operators for it. Springfield, which is going to be interesting because I think I explained to some of you about this. They got a Gold's Gym and remodeled that a couple years ago, and they did not want to put antennas on this newly remodeled building. And it's really nice on the inside. If anyone's down in Springfield, get a good, nice tour if you haven't been there already. They got a lot of meeting rooms and such, but they built a building outside to keep their canteens and other vehicles out of the inclement weather. Well, luckily, we're able to take a canteen. We're going to demobilize it as a canteen, make it a mobile purpose unit, but it's also going to be our comms vehicle, which is also our station. So we're going to back it into the building, plug in our radios, and they're going to be in Go kits eventually, and plug into external antennas. And then if we have to go somewhere, we just unplug, drive the vehicle, plug in external antennas, on tripods or mounts of some type, and operate. So that's what we're doing with Springfield. And then Champaign, we don't know. They just started their own EDS division, so to speak, for things. And the first thing they want to get is a canteen. And we want to try to get at least antennas set up, get some VHF, UHF, and some HF antennas. And if we have to put the coax in a box that's locked on the outside of the building, so be it. Most of us can pull up to something like that and operate from it without any issue. So, like I said, the training exercises, the goal is for 2024 or 2025, we have quarterly exercises. Like I said, we'll like almost like field day type thought process is that we'll have messages coming out of Hoffman Estates in our comms trailer, maybe to the Springfield Club, at their station we'll do it on a Saturday morning, which is when you guys have stations open. Get people in Peoria involved, get, maybe the Woodford County Club, get all these clubs involved in passing messages, either by voice or by digital modes like WinLink. So then eventually we'll do it to the point where, okay, Springfield needs help. Who can send people? We'll do it tabletop. Then we'll do it live. Like, okay, we're going to send 3 people from Chicago area. We're going to send 3 people from Rockford, 4 people from Peoria. And these are the resources they're going to bring. And then eventually, when they get to Springfield, down the road, and we're going to try to do this, like I said, the goal is my S.A.T.E.R.N leadership wants to be able to have these exercises because here we don't do training summits like we used to. So these are our training summits when we can get people in, they're S.A.T.E.R.N related, and all we're doing is S.A.T.E.R.N stuff. Training summits is the way we were able to do some S.A.T.E.R.N stuff and some of the other stuff. One of the gripes was that before we went to mostly online in the beginning, you had to go to these classes in person. And those that worked would either have to take time from work off to go to these classes because they're during the day, during the week, or wait for one of these summits to come up and try to get into that. But if you wanted to go to the S.A.T.E.R.N class, you couldn't do both. So that's the reason why we're doing this. And like I said, Operation Black Shield. So I think I told a couple of people, I'll go into a little bit more detail. So the black, not the dark web, the black web, where when the internet goes down, cellular service goes down, this is what came from it. Because my boss, in the middle of that going on, he's trying to call me. Instead, he's texting me. I call him back. He goes, how are you getting a cell phone signal through? Well, I'm on FirstNet because of work, but that's probably the reason why. Long story short, he wanted us to be able to talk both locally with our canteens and other resources locally at all the different major EDS offices, and also between the bigger EDS office like Pekin, Rockford, Springfield, and Chicago eventually. So we call it Operation Black Shield because the joke is that every logo that's the Salvation Army has to be red. So if we're going to be the black sheep and do this, let's be the black shield. So hence the Operation Black Shield, and my boss loves it every time. Sam's like, hey, what's the status on OBS? Well, we're half filled. He was like, okay. But again, it's going back to making the stations robust and able to do what we want it to do. So I always ask about this point, did I bore you yet? Are you interested? Did I sucker you in? Sucker you in, not suck you in, I'm sorry. So it's not that hard to get involved. How long did it take you, Derek, to fill out that application? Yeah. So it's basic information. You'll get an email if you're interested. The process is very quick, and the classes are online. In fact, Ryan started watching the intro or the welcome video. There's 3 primary classes that you have to take. One is Introduction to the Salvation Army, which is that welcome video, I believe. The other one is Safe from Harm, which if you've taken the youth training for Boy Scouts or any other organizations like that, it's along the same lines. Also has a couple other things because we do deal with battered or women and children, so there's some discussion there on certain things. And then the third class, or the last one really, and not the most important, but the one that confuses, I should say, confuses people, especially if you've been in public safety and taken these classes, is our introduction to the Salvation Army Incident Command System. Because we throw in one more part of the leadership team or the command staff, and then there's other roles where you would go, what? That doesn't sound right. But if you take the mindset of public safety, because I failed the class the first time online, and I realized why. I was thinking like a public safety person, not as a Salvation Army person. So I think should have been taken out. So yeah, Safe from Harm, Intro to the Salvation Army, and the Salvation Army Incident Command System. So we also have other things like canteen operations, serve safe, which means that you know that you're only supposed to hold things at certain temperatures, store them this way, do this, do that, gloves, hairnets, hats, etc. If you feel like you want to be talking to people and helping them out during times of need a little bit more in depth, you can go through the emotional spiritual care program. I'm an entry level. My goal is by 2027 to be a chaplain, just to make myself more available for resources or for disaster, but also more of a resource for my own team. I'm dead set on taking care of my team. I don't care if I have to buy a case of water for somebody, or go grab beef sticks out of the cooler or out of the storage that we have, I will always have snacks and hydration. Why? It was drilled into me that a happy operator is a mentally sound operator to a degree. So, hence, yesterday when Darren, who's running the Hamfest, was running around, I walked up to him, handed him 2 beef sticks, and I said, eat these. He goes, I will in a second. I said, no, you can't walk away without even starting one. And he did, and he ate it, and he told me later on, thank you very much. So I can't openly give them out, but if everyone's hungry, I do have beef sticks, because one of the things that Salvation Army lives on is donations. We get donated snacks. We did 25,000 snack bags for the first responders just for the DNC. Just for the DNC. We did 25,000 snack bags, which included like a thing of chips, some pretzels, some cookies, a variety of things, trail mix, et cetera, and literally we had conveyor lines of people doing these things, putting these together, both in our office in Elk Grove, here in Pekin, and up in Rockford. And we get all the snacks from United Airlines. They go through, and when the snack that you don't get when the stewardess walks by with her cart, you want to know what happens to those snacks? After the plane is done with its journey wherever, they take those snacks and they were putting them in a bin and then just disposing of them. And they're like, we got to do something better than this. So what do? They donate it to the Salvation Army, to our office in Elk Grove. We pick up 2 or 3 of these huge containers a week. So, and my wife really liked the fact that we got these certain cookies, and she's like, hey, anytime you can snag these cookies, I know this is recorded, but anytime you can do that, everyone does it. I mean, because we have just boxes and boxes of these snacks. And we got to get rid of them, because if we don't get rid of them, they go bad, and you got to throw them away because they're expired. So, and like I didn't say this, you will get a background check. No matter if you're going to drive or not, we always have you fill out for an MVR, or motor vehicle report. Why? It's not because we don't think you'll ever, even though you said you'll never want to drive, if there's a possibility of you going to a training summit and we give you a minivan, so we don't have to pay for your mileage and we pay for your gas and all that stuff, then you need to have that to be able to take one of our vehicles. So I have not rented a car for Hamvention, and I'm going to stop renting cars for coming to things like this, because I can just go and request one through our fleet. So, and I always get a minivan when we go to Hamvention, because we all know we all got to bring a lot of stuff to do our displays. Well, you guys don't have to worry about it because it gets shipped to the 8-hour oil, gets it shipped there. And I looked into that, and it was not cost effective. But we always come back with more stuff than we came with. I mean, I got rid of 2 boxes of stuff, but like the stuff that I gave out today, and if I think you didn't get one, a book and a pen. Anyways, when we got rid of this stuff, that's if you sign up. Oh yeah, here, throw that here. Well, maybe the Bears will sign me now that it's on tape. No, I'm just kidding. I don't take this right. Say this right. It's not that I'm not a Bears fan. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Have been since early 80s. And that's all I'm going to say. I was born and raised in upstate New York. So an idea I came up with after Hamvention, I didn't do it at the Piatone Hamfest here in Princeton, was anytime someone physically signed up, logged themselves in, and got into the system, I was like, we got to give people something, right? So I came up with the water bottle idea. We bought a whole bunch of these during COVID. There's a pen. There's a pin that we don't give out as often, which is our 30-year anniversary pin, and a little wristband. Now, if you really, really need a teddy bear, I can get you a teddy bear. Eric, I know you need a teddy bear.
If only you knew his nickname.
Oh, I know his nickname. But this is recorded, so I was going to be halfway decent. So anyways, one of the processes that I discussed with my boss is that as people go through the process, I always like, because I'm a trainer for the sheriff's office that I'm at McHenry County, up in the northern part of the state. I always like giving things to my trainees as they go through my classrooms that I teach, something to help them better off themselves during the job. So next thing would be something else, and he asked me, well, what would that be? A ham radio. And he goes, I don't think I can afford buying that. I was like, but these Bowfangs are only so much. And in fact, there was a UV3 that I saw out in the flea market that I think was like $10, $15. I'm like, I should get that and just give that to him. Here, Sam, here's your radio. Now go get your ham license so you can use it. No, I'm just kidding. So I think talking-wise, that's about it. So this is partially what our S.A.T.E.R.N station here in Pekin looks like. I like putting this picture up here only because Dwayne Householder was the original S.A.T.E.R.N coordinator for this area, and I took his place basically. And if you see that banner hanging out, oh, it's not out because I have the two new ones. But if you come to walk by at Hamvention, you'll see that banner because I kind of borrowed it. But that's our station there in Pekin. This was the comms truck that we've had for the last couple of years. Again, it didn't start, but this is where we've manned aid station 13 and operated from. The Springfield comms truck is going to look almost exactly like this from the outside. This was during a, well, someone said we should put health and welfare to make it sound, but I was taking traffic during a national night out, and our PIO goes, you need to have a vest on, you need to have a hat on. I'm like, but then I can't see because it was dark out, and then so someone put a spotlight, literally, at the front of the vehicle was over here, and they put a spotlight over here. Oh, can you see now? Not really, but I'm not going to say anything. This is one of our Western Division, I believe, canteens during a recent disaster that occurred when the tornadoes hit out west in our division in Omaha. And these are just some other pictures that we have. This is an honest-to-God Chicago canteen. It's not a most current picture because I'm just looking at the numbering on it. It's got the wrong numbering on it, but this is where we serve the food. They make the food in this thing and serve it. Sometimes they just serve hot meals that are already traced in clamshells inside there. I don't believe we supported in the Patriot exercise this year up in Wisconsin at Fort McCoy. But normally it's like every 2 years or every 3 years, we send S.A.T.E.R.N members to support the National Guard, Army National and Air Force National Guard, I believe, during their exercises. And they actually come to us asking for assistance with stuff, passing traffic, or hey, our radio doesn't work. Do you have something that will work there? No, but try this. Okay. And ironically, I think, yeah, this was 2019. All but one person on the S.A.T.E.R.N team was also cross-trained. So they also did canteen ops. And they had food, but no one to cook it. So we cooked our own food. Like I mentioned earlier, Hurricane WatchNet. This information's on our website, but it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 10:30 Central Daylight Time on 14/3/25. And then on Saturday, we're at 10:30 Central Daylight Time, we're on 14/3/20 because there's already, I believe there's a Coast Guard or some other type of net that's on Saturday mornings on 325. And sometimes they take early check-ins. During the week, it's kind of hard for them to do early check-ins because there's a Denmark net, and if you've never heard someone from Denmark or talking and having a conversation with someone in German, it is interesting to listen in to these guys talk in the morning sometimes. Sometimes they get very excited. So this was Hurricane WatchNet operations based out of our Great Lakes Division EDS office. The gentleman on the left is Bob Dennis, WX8BOB, and the gentleman on the right is James, and I forget his call sign and his last name. He's scribing. Bob's taking the radio traffic. We use NetLogger. So NetLogger is up here on this board. There's another board in their operations center that's got NetLogger on it also, monitoring, and then of course he's got it right in front of him, and so does Jim have it. So a lot of times if I'm checking into the net, I'll jump on there because we have chat sessions going on prior to the net, during the net. Especially when I thought I broke my radio at Elk Grove, which is a Yaesu FT1000 Mark V, and I thought I blew it up, and come to find out, this guy who was trying to talk quietly in an office setting with other people in it was told by somebody else, you need to speak up. You have a deep voice, you can make it better. And I'm like, okay, so I did. And again, that's all I have. So any questions, comments, concerns? Rotten tomatoes to throw? Nothing? All right. Good.
One time, I was part of the Aaron's group in the building in Illinois. But anyhow, there, we had a fire truck thing where they brought fire trucks and some of the things. They had a Salvation Army vehicle there.
It was probably one of our canteens.
Yeah, it looked like kind of like a bread truck.
Yep. Yep. It was probably one of our canteens. And it might have been one of the older ones.
This is several years ago.
Yeah, it was probably one of our older ones because the one that's in Champaign now, it's not in bad shape, but it does need a little love into it. So that's the reason why during that grant, you didn't get one of these, did you? No. During that grant that I was talking about, they in turn were able to, one of the big purchases was new canteens, the new transit style canteens. In fact, we just, well, I didn't go, but our S.A.T.E.R.N territory team went down to Elkhart, Indiana and just picked up another 4 of them. And they're going out on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, to go pick up another 4 of these canteens to replace our aging fleet because we're busy. I mean, especially in the Chicago area, in the Rockford area, our canteens are almost sometimes nonstop. When those tornadoes that I was mentioning earlier came through the Chicago area or went through New Lenox or Joliet area, we had 4 teams out. I was on one of them serving food to people that had lost everything. Wait, you know, and I've been in public safety for 30 plus years, and I never felt more as a part of a team than I'm sitting there and having people talk to me while I'm handing them a hot dog and just spilling their guts. And, you know, I was like, and my buddy goes, that I was with goes, so where does S.A.T.E.R.N play a role in this? It doesn't. We're here as a human being helping them out. So, and we plan on doing more of those type of touch-a-truck type events with our canteens and our communications vehicles. In fact, National Night Out, we actually partner up with other organizations. And our goal this year didn't happen because we had some issues come up with equipment. But we were planning on being at 5 different National Night Outs and communicating amongst ourselves, both on public safety or on business band and on amateur radio, because we do have a public business band license on 464 band. So, anything else? No? Well, thank you for your time. And if you are interested in signing up, or I bored you to death and you're like, I'm never going to join again. No, I'm just, which I've been told that before. But if you are interested, I do have a laptop at my booth, and it, as Derek said, it took 15 minutes, if that, to sign up. And if you're a coffee drinker, I got 3 coffee mugs. So I just realized that when we were coming over here. So thank you.